Good evening and welcome to Covenant United Methodist Church's time of reflection on the rock. It's our Monday edition, which means we interview some interesting person and find out a little bit about what's going on with them and their faith journeys through it all. This evening I am joined by Rachel Dobbs. And Rachel is a member at Covenant, but the reason she's here today or tonight is because she's a teacher in the Rochester City School District and has been for the past 15 years in the music department. Mm-hmm. And she also has children that will attend the Rochester City School Districts. And so as we, listen more and more to the news that talks about the tension going into a school year that follows a year like none other, I thought it would be good if we could have someone like Rachel come in and talk to us about what it's really like, and not just what the news, interprets the situation to be. And I guess before we worry about the year forward, Rachel, can you just share with us a little bit about what last year was like, from the shutdown through 2020?
Oh, okay. Well, the last day we had in school, we all got a letter about, we're still going to be open until we know differently. And the next day, somebody in Greece had it. But I do remember passing out the letter that went home to my last class and telling them, this is going to be like a snow day. You're just going to have to watch the news and we'll do what they say. But you have to stay home if this is what happens. You're not shopping and going to the movies. This is for safety. And I don't think any of us understood. We thought that maybe we'd be out for a couple weeks.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
We were a little excited. It was that really long time of the year. But the thought that we would not go back to school for the rest of the school year was unbelievable. And then that we wouldn't start the following school year in person was wild. So it was difficult to learn all the technology. Many of us who have been around for some time are not as savvy as the younger teachers, the baby teachers. And we had the added challenge of teaching kids how to use the technology from remote.
Oh.
So littler kids or kids with special needs really needed a lot of adult support at home. And we can't always see we see the teacher screen and they see a student screen. So we didn't always know what to tell them to push or where something was located on their screens.
Right.
But by the end of the year, it was really interesting. It wasn't even by the end. Kids learn so fast. The stuff that they know how to do on computers now is incredible. The littlest kids know how to do
swishing and
let me share my screen and let me show you this. And so that was exciting and definitely something they would not have learned otherwise. But it was challenging dealing with audio problems because kids' Wi-Fis weren't as good, so you couldn't always communicate both ways, glitchy videos, just coming up with materials to teach in this different way. I mean, I couldn't do any of my standard stuff. All my old material will be new when we're finally back together. And we did go back to school. Some students went back mid-year, which made a whole new challenge of navigating space and safety protocols, and still teaching the kids who remained at home at the same time. So you had kids on a computer and working all the technology, and kids in front of you. What can you do with those kids that's fair to the kids at home that they could still participate in? So it was a real balancing act.
Yeah. I mean, I even noticed that at worship is, if we know, who do I focus on, the people in person or the people joining us and trying to do both? It is a challenge.
Yeah, it is.
So you're describing, what I think a lot of us heard on the news is the challenge it was for teachers and educators to negotiate this. You followed all the safety protocols, the masking, the distancing, everything.
As best we
As
could.
best you could. And you're now approaching the start of a new year. Your district is going back fully in person. And what kind of challenges does that present going in? Or what's exciting about that?
It's going to be exciting just to be there with the kids and to do some things that are more like our normal way of doing things. Again, we still won't be able to do everything. I'm not sure we'll be able to sing, which is a big thing for little kids, like even in their classrooms. And how we'll handle materials between classes, moving about the building. Those things will be challenging, but exciting to figure out because it means we're together again. But another challenge that is maybe not surprising, but you don't think about it till you're there. The last time we had the kids in school, like really, was March of 2020. They have grown a lot. Like physically, they are different, and they're wearing masks. So it's really like having to learn who they are.
Right.
And before you could see somebody down the hall and stop running.
Yeah.
Now you're like, I don't know who I'm saying that to.
Yeah.
And communication, because you only see their eyes.
Right.
Ideally, masks are difficult.
Right,
but
right.
We do our best.
Yeah, that's one thing that's always surprised me about the children is how well they took on to adapting to the masks. My grandsons forget they have them on.
Yeah.
And when we pictured it as like, oh my gosh, how are you going to get these runny-nosed kids to wear a mask? But they did, for the most part.
For the most part. Everyone does for the most part.
Yeah. So what did this do? And again, I'm going by what I hear on the news. What did this do as far as the child's retention level for learning? Do you have to go back and how do you reassess where they are?
Yes. Yes. It's
Yeah.
not really the answer to that question. Well, and the assessment piece is not always something as a music teacher I need to, like academically, reading, math.
Gotcha.
Though the classroom teachers have their programs and the things that they have to do, and usually we're just support in those times. But there will be some backtracking, but I don't think it's what people, think this whole lost school year. It really was not. For some students, it was a lost school year because the support at home wasn't there, but it was also really eye-opening to see how much support kids do have at home. And that their families, like we did get to see more families than usual because you could see into people's homes and who was helping and what was going on. And some kids did really well with being at home. They made growth. They felt comfortable learning in their own environment. They shared things. These were kids who were quite closed down at school. And then, like my own students, my children, my personal children, not my students.
Okay.
The students who live at my house, they did all right. They were still excited about learning. My younger son made growth in reading. Like, kids did learn and grow, and they learned different things. Like I said, the computer stuff. Yeah. And that is stuff that really will serve them as they grow up. And the world is not going back. We are going to be much more technology-based going on, and they know this stuff now.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I actually, it's very encouraging for me to know that it was not a lost year, and in many ways, we grew from it. And did you have in your school this, what I've heard is a mass exodus of teachers who was just overwhelming, and they left, or were they also, did they see some good in it like you are as well?
I think most of us saw some good in it. I mean, we saw a lot of challenges. There were a lot of times people were mad or frustrated. We did not, we lost a couple teachers, but they were they retired mid-year. They just decided.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, our staff maintained, and we had people who really stepped up during this. We have a teacher, he's a good friend of mine, but he was using a flip phone that had duct tape on it. Like, he is not,
Yeah.
he's old school, don't fix it if it's not broken. He made such tremendous growth. I mean, like, we would joke that he doesn't know how to do any of this. He came so far, and we had some other teachers who, in person, we might think, they could do a little more with this or that, but they really did a ton.
Yeah.
And their class was exciting and engaging. So I think that people did see the positive.
Yeah.
I mean, we looked for it.
It's as you're telling me all this, I mean, I'm thinking the parallels between school and church has just been amazing. I would be the last person in the world in 2019 to ever think that I would be doing something like this and feeling.
Here you are.
And here I am and enjoying it.
Yeah.
I was telling my district superintendent yesterday, these times of interviews and devotion and prayer online has been life-giving.
Mm-hmm.
And to see the children respond, to see the teachers be so committed, it has to be just life-giving in so many ways.
It is.
So you mentioned you have 2 sons at home.
Mm-hmm.
Cutest things in the whole wide world, I
Oh,
have to say.
Well, they are. Thank you. You haven't seen them in a while. They're behemoths now.
Yes, I know. They grow up so fast. And so these, and you mentioned it before. I know you said earlier that one of your son loved learning remotely. The other one missed the interaction. I'm an introvert. I actually like Zoom. I like
being able to sit at long meetings in my own home.
Yes. And so for Eli and Ethan, how did they grow in this? I mean, it seems like, okay, they had a teacher as a mother, but I also know teenage boys. I had 2 myself. How did that work in your household? Because I know you all got sick with COVID.
Oh, we did in January. They didn't have many symptoms, so they still did their school online. At that point, they were both still learning from home.
Yeah.
And that was part of our decision, was we had not had COVID in our house, and we're going to keep it that way. But after we had COVID and the younger son wasn't doing his work the way he should, we sent him to school, and he really enjoyed that. There were long days at our house. The very first day of school, Ethan, the younger son, tried to open every tab he could on his computer to run the battery down so he could end the day. So we had to figure out where everyone would be comfortable and what kind of routine would we have. I kind of think COVID was started by dentists because it is so hard to get children to brush their teeth when they don't have to leave the house.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. But I believe there's going to be a lot more cavities.
Yeah.
So, starting and having a routine, and what time are you getting up, and you need to eat breakfast, please put a shirt on.
Yeah.
And pants. Put pants on.
Yeah.
For school learning.
Yeah.
I don't even remember your first question. What was the
I guess I just want to know, you're describing your classroom setting and the school system decision-making, and how did that affect your home life? I mean, you're describing that it was just challenging in a new way.
Yes.
And yet they grew in their learning.
Mm-hmm. They had favorite teachers. They had favorite classes.
What happened socially with the boys?
Ethan is the one who likes to be at home. So he quarantine and staying home was like, he loved it
Yeah.
till he fell through the cracks and had to go back to school. But Eli he was in 7th grade last year, and he is very social, and this was very hard for him.
Yeah.
So we live over near Mount Hope Cemetery and Highland Park. So there were parents who started a text group. Hey, the kids can, on Wednesdays when there was like just asynchronous learning, in the afternoon when everyone should have been done, kids could meet in the park outside and be safe. So he did take advantage of those things. And Zooming with his friends, they would start little Zoom clubs. But it was hard. He always wanted to go do something.
Yeah.
Except when he had something to actually go do.
Right.
Like a
Well,
lesson or
yeah.
come help me on an errand.
Well, what you're describing, what I'm hearing, is that this school year, we need to filter what the news media maybe is focusing on, which is it's a lost year, that teachers are leaving by the droves, and that
I will say there is a shortage. There's been a big shuffling. Because
Oh.
not just in the city, in other districts, people have just said,
Right.
if it's close enough, they're ready to go. So people are still kind of moving. The dust has not settled, but it's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
not just in the city, it's everywhere.
I keep hearing too that there's a bus driver shortage.
Does anybody want to drive a bus? Please, because they have shifted some school start times. So my school is very late now.
Oh.
I've never taught so late in the day.
Wow. And see, I can imagine another home conflict is if all three of you are on different schedules.
We are.
Oh.
We will be. We will be. We have somebody starting at 7:30, at 8:30, and I start at 9:30.
Wow. This is a time in the boy's life and in the children where they've endured and they've survived an unbelievable challenge that across the board everyone is so affected. Everything from not having toilet paper earlier in the pandemic to now struggling to find bus drivers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to continue to evolve.
Yep.
So tell me, through this whole experience, and you've shared a little bit, I'd like to know what's your biggest worry or your greatest fear, and what gives you hope?
My biggest worry in general, as a teacher,
I think as a teacher.
My biggest worry is having to just adjust all the time. I guess maybe that's what I feel is going to be the challenge.
Oh, sure.
But I'm not, it's going to change, I think, a lot. It's going to be different than last year.
Yeah.
So kind of this new uncharted, what's the new regulation going to be? What are they going to ask for now? But I'm just trying to stay I'll just deal with it when it comes up.
Yeah.
My greatest hope, what gives me hope, just that kids are okay. It's not fear-mongering for them to wear a mask in school. It's teaching them community and how to care about other people.
Right.
And how to take care of themselves and their family. It's such a minor thing to request.
Make a big deal over.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the hopeful thing, is we're all okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're on our prayer list.
Well, thank you.
As we go into this year, we pray for teachers and administrators and on everyone,
We
students.
need them, and we are glad to have prayers. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love my students. I love my school family, and that's what it is. It's a family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we tend to hear, again, a lot of negative things about the Rochester School District, and I know you've endured many challenges with the district. But through it all,
Well,
you've been faithful.
that's the thing that remains, is that you love these. Sometimes when we're all together for an assembly, which I imagine won't happen this year, but
Right.
I just look around and my heart just is so full. I love those children and I love the people I work with, and the work that we do
Yeah,
is important and meaningful.
awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, well, we need thousands of teachers, and I suspect there are.
Oh,
There's-
yes.
Very committed,
Yes, creative, resilient.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, Rachel teaches music in the Rochester City School District, and from my perspective, also having children growing up through the school, music and the arts was the heartbeat, and that's sports. But the music was what really tied it all together. I just
Well, thank you. I always know I've done a good job if the kids say, this is more fun than gym.
Well, it even works here. When there is good music to support the message, people hear it and they experience it so much more. So you are a gift to the
thank you.
kids who really will find that rootedness.
I hope so. I want to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me.
And join us on Wednesday and Friday this coming week as we try to take our interviews and carry them through to some of our devotions on the Wednesday, Friday. So thank you and have a good evening.